Are you itching for a good story? Laughter among friends, maybe even a mystery or two? Well, you're in luck. Firebreathing Kittens is a standalone Dungeons & Dragons podcast. Each episode is a separate 3-hour-long story, like a movie for your ears, so you can listen to these adventures in any order you like. So, join us on a real play D&D quest as we solve mysteries, attempt comedic banter, and enjoy friendship. Firebreathing Kittens podcast. Fantasy, action, mystery, friendship.
Hello, everybody. This is Megan.
And this is Alana.
And welcome to Tea Time Crimes. Hello. We are back.
Guten Tag.
Gluten thighs?
Guten Tag.
Oh, gosh. You're just a woman of so many languages. I can't keep up.
Really
Much
am.
like the woman I'm featuring today. She speaks several languages.
Oh,
How do you always know?
I'm slightly psychic, just like 1%.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's not super useful.
It's not useful, but it's fun. Fun party trick.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little trick.
So what's up today? What's new?
Me. Nothing. I'm excited for my tea today. I just can't wait. We stumbled upon it and it is so perfect for this show.
I'm looking forward to it as well because I sent you a text saying how much time do you need to be ready, because usually Alana and I do sound check and then she goes and does her last minute things while her tea is getting ready so that we know when it's time to record. But she said, I don't need to steep it today. And so I'm a little nervous because your angst for cold brews, I don't know what's happening. I hope it keeps you in a good mood, not a stabby mood.
I think it will. I think it'll be great.
Awesome. Do you want to just hop into it then, since we're just dancing around it?
Sure. All right. Are you ready?
Very much.
So, I love kombucha.
Yes, you do.
So it's the same company that you'll see, like GT's is the big brand out there for kombucha. And we were shopping around getting some kombucha, and then I saw this, and it's GT's Alive Ancient Mushroom Elixir.
Gosh, I bet it's disgusting. I bet it's made from mushrooms in a basement that are
It is
curated around a dead body like last week.
Oh my God, there's so much description. I didn't even see it. So it's root beer flavor with 3 mushrooms, reishi, chaga, and turkey tail.
Turkey tail, that's my favorite mushroom.
Let thy food be thy medicine.
Oh, wow. You sound like a Sanderson sister from Hocus Pocus.
Ooh. Your macro dose of mushroom magic. Alive protects and preserves your body's vitality and fortifies immune health every day by producing clean, sustainable energy with an 1,800 milligram functional dose from the fruiting body of 3 powerful antioxidant-rich, oh God, I can't say this, adaptogenic mushrooms.
Shout out to Bridge Kitty real quick, because I hear him in the back as well.
Yeah, he's jealous. Yeah, so it's just a combination of 3 mushrooms.
Do you believe any of that?
Do I believe any of that?
It sounds like it's overpromising.
Oh yeah, I don't like when some natural remedies overpromise, because you just really got to be careful. Like I do believe some things can help a little bit, but like this is probably not gonna prevent me from getting a cold if I'm in a room with 3 people who have a cold.
I have a vision of you just being so hopped up on mushrooms that you just walking into a sick bay. Like, give me your best. I'm doped up on shrooms. In a good way, not in a psychedelic way. But,
Oh, either way.
Remember when we used to drink kombucha together at work?
Yes. And remember that one person who drank too many
All of the kombuchas
You're only
in one
supposed
day?
to have one a day.
And they drank 3 and they were all gone. And we were disproportionately livid.
And I requested it. You're
I
welcome.
know. I know. But that I just can't imagine what that did to that person's body.
I know.
3 and
Yikes.
Yikes.
They had a lot of probiotics hopping around.
Yeah, they were pro something at the end of the day, I'll tell you that. All right, give us a sniff.
All right. There's dark amber maple in here.
Your voices are creepier than the murderers I tell you about.
It smells like root beer.
Oh, that's right. I forget it was root beer flavored. I like what they've done there.
I'm kind of pissed that they did that.
Oh, good Lord. You would be. You're like, I want to taste dirt and mushrooms.
Exactly.
You're the only person. You're the only one who's saying that.
If you're giving me an ancient mushroom elixir, I want to taste that. And guess, pop quiz. What tea do you think they used for this elixir? A mushroomy tea?
I don't know. Oh, is it the one we had with Candace Mossler?
Puer.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. Yeah.
You did it.
I know it by the murderers, not by the names.
That's funny. That's perfect. Okay. Ooh, there's raw apple cider vinegar in here too.
Is it as opposed to cooked apple cider vinegar?
As opposed to none.
Well, raw. Of course it's raw.
Yeah, why does it say raw?
That's what I'm saying. They try to really amp it up. Like when they put like gluten-free on Skittles. Like, well, okay.
Oh, I hate that when they put gluten-free on stuff. That's like, yeah.
It's like, obviously it's gluten-free, but
I think I could smell a little bit of the vinegar. Okay, here it goes. Whoa.
Wow, your face. You don't look like you love it.
I'm trying to identify the taste. It's a roller coaster.
Oh, wow. Buckle up, everyone. Here we go. Sip number 2. Hold on. Give her a minute. She's really going to let this wash over her. Her face looks disgusted. Or confused. 3rd sip. We know what happens after the 3rd sip. We get a rating.
It tastes like yogurt that's gone bad.
Delish.
Like at first you're assaulted by the vinegar. The root beer tries, but it just can't put up a fight against all the other stuff going on behind it. And then at the back of your mouth, I can't even taste the puer really. At the back is like just the mildly off taste of spoiled dairy.
I don't understand. There's no dairy in it. So why are your mushrooms tasting like spoiled
gone
milk?
Off a little bit. It's because of the I'm guessing because of the mushrooms.
Yeah, duh. It's not the root beer. I'll tell you that right now.
I forgot to mention an ingredient, 100% pure love.
Oh gosh,
that might be what tastes sour.
Yeah, maybe you're pushing that love out. Not a fan. You don't like it, do you?
I don't know if I dislike it.
Your face looks like it dislikes it.
It's not getting a thumbs up, but I don't know if it's getting a thumbs down.
A sideways thumb? Have we had a sideways thumb?
We have.
I need to write down your ratings.
I know, we just create a little graphic. My God, it's got to be an undecided sideways thumb.
Undecided sideways thumb. Okay.
It's teetering.
Teetering, really? I'm surprised it's teetering.
I don't want to drink too much of it because it's going to make me burpy because it's carbonated.
Ooh, that's lovely. I'll leave those in. I won't edit those mushroom burps out. It really looks like you have to steel yourself for every sip.
I do. I don't think I like it, but I'm going to save some for Chris to try.
Do we need to, has a thumb teetered down a little bit?
Yeah. It's like it's like imagine if a small, like an infant was on a seesaw and nobody else is on it, it's just like slowly going down.
First off, that seems safe.
Just tape them in or strap them or something. Use belts.
Okay. Is it going to hit the ground or are we pausing midair before it hits the ground to a thumbs down?
It's pausing.
All right.
It hasn't hit the floor.
All right. It's a declining thumbs down. Can we say that?
Yeah. No.
Okay. No.
It's a declining sideways thumb.
Okay. All right then. This rating's really got away from us. Those turkey mushrooms aren't cutting it.
I think they just took away from it.
Which is funny because you wanted the pure mushroom taste at the beginning.
But I think everything else in there is making it worse. Like, just hit me with the puer.
Yeah, that's where you're wrong. I think what you're missing is that mushrooms are gross.
No.
As a drink.
Mushrooms are amazing and beautiful.
Sure, when they're fried up with some butter and salt. but they're not a great beverage.
I want purity, and then I'll make a decision. Hear that, GT?
Okay, why don't you juice some mushrooms and then let me know how that goes. Just picture you squeezing the juice. Imagine how many
Stop.
mushrooms it take if you get one sip.
Anyways, let's get out of here.
I really love how you're trying to blame the flavor on anything else but the mushrooms.
It's because, like, if you're gonna go ancient mushroom elixir, just go all the way. They're shying back. There's no point. Punch me with mushrooms.
This is it's very similar theory to how you handle murderers. Like, if you're gonna kill, let's go all the way with this. This is how you are handling mushrooms and murderers.
Mushroom and murderers. Is that my spinoff?
Oh my gosh, yes. That's what we should have named it. Should we rebrand? Mushrooms and Murderers. Yeah. Well, man, I want to be involved in your spinoff. Let me know if I can be a guest star. All right, weirdo. You ready for today's case?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the unsolved disappearance of Dorothy Arnold.
No.
So on December 12th, 1910, 25-year-old perfume heiress,
excuse me,
Dorothy Arnold.
Oh my God, I thought that was her name. I'm sorry.
You thought her name was perfume heiress? I had just mentioned her name as Dorothy Arnold.
I did.
But
well, you never know if you're going to start with somebody else. Okay. I'm back.
No.
Good old perfume.
Get us to the same person. Perfume is not in this story, but it's a beautiful name. Guys, feel free to use it. So Dorothy steps out to run an errand, and she's never seen or heard from again.
Uh-oh.
So who is Dorothy Arnold? Who is perfume heiress? And how do you become one? And what are the theories surrounding this disappearance? Let's break it down. In 1910, we're in New York City. Okay, this is where the family lives. So we're in New York City. New York City is becoming, like really becoming New York. That's the year supposedly that they got the nickname the Big Apple.
Okay.
And that was because musicians, if they booked a show in New York, that was amazing. And if they weren't in New York, the other shows were called Little Apples.
Oh, I see.
They weren't the Big Apple. They weren't the one they wanted. And so in that time, you've got a lot of new musicians coming, art, culture, that stuff's all taking form and taking shape. And the part of the reason is because transportation is becoming so much more accessible. So you're able to get musicians from other places, right? You don't just have to have a musician down the street who can walk. Because you've got major hubs in New York for train stations, and the automobile is actually happening.
Yeah.
There are only about 500,000 cars in the U.S. on the streets at that time.
Wow, that's crazy.
So during 1910, most people are still walking around, and New York's a walkable city, so the sidewalks were even a little bit wider just to allow for that. That's how most people are getting around.
Okay. What about horses?
Yeah, you could still have a horse and buggy. But if you're in New York, it's just most people are walking around. You still have trains. That's how people are getting to other states, is taking the train. But back to perfume heiress as an entity, right? How did you become a perfume heiress? How do you become an heiress in general? But Dorothy's parents were Frances Rose Arnold and Mary Samuels. So Francis was born in 1837 in New York. He graduated from Harvard in 1856, later was said to have earned a PhD, and he married his wife Mary in 1882.
Okay.
She was 20 years younger than him, if my math is right, so that's a gamble.
Jeez.
And the couple went on to have 4 children together: John, Dorothy, Dan, and Marjorie. Now, Francis came from what seems to be a pretty well-to-do family. It was name-dropped in almost every article that his ancestors were on the Mayflower. I think he was real proud of that. But his father was the president of a bank, and Francis was the founder of F.R. Arnold and Company, which was an importer of perfume and colognes and other fine goods.
Oh, that's how you become an heiress.
So that's how Francis made all his money. And they were, serious money. They were on par with the Rockefellers.
Wow.
Yeah, they were listed in the Social Register, which everybody kept saying like it was something I should know. Apparently, it's the equivalent to Forbes magazine.
Okay.
When they do like their 40 millionaires under 40.
Yeah.
It's like one of those. They would have been snapshotted in there.
Wow.
So they're very wealthy. Now, Dorothy Harriet Camille was born July 1st, also in New York City. And she was the second child to Francis and Mary.
Do you know where in New York?
They're in Manhattan.
Okay.
I don't know exactly where she was born. I don't know what hospital. Francis, I think, was born in Brooklyn, but She was born in Manhattan. Dorothy and her siblings are going to really good schools, obviously.
Yeah.
So they're getting a really good education. They live in a mansion in Manhattan.
God.
And they're 2 blocks from Central Park.
That's amazing. I wonder if the house still exists today. Oh, God. Hold on. Sorry. Hold on.
Alana has fallen. Are you okay? Is the mushroom tea okay?
It's my laptop's always in a precarious position, so if I move one wire, everything falls down. Okay, we're good.
It didn't go well. So Mary and Frances have sent their children to really great schools. They're raised by nannies.
Mm-hmm.
They live in a mansion in Manhattan, 2 blocks from Central Park. I mean, it sounds really nice. I think that I looked up that building. I'm pretty sure it's luxury apartments now.
Okay.
But I imagine at the time they had most of it.
Amazing.
So Dorothy even attended college.
Wow.
So she went to Bryn Mawr, which is a women's college in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And it's about a 4-hour train ride from New York. So she's still got out, away from home, but she's close enough she can get back if she needs.
Yeah.
And Bryn Mawr is known as one of the 7 Sisters, which is a group of schools that was created to provide an equal education to the Ivy Leagues, because at the time, Ivy Leagues were mostly for men.
Men, yeah.
And her father went to Harvard.
I wonder if the 7 Sisters is named after that constellation, that cluster of stars.
That's what Subaru is named after.
What?
That's what the Subaru logo is. It's the 7 Sisters.
Oh.
Constellation of stars.
I'm going to look at it again.
I could be wrong. It's in my memory. I don't know if it's accurate. It hasn't been fact checked. So she got a really good education. And Bryn Mawr at the time is pretty liberal for 1910. So 1910, women, they're not voting. Women are supposed to get married, and you're supposed to get married young.
Yeah.
Like right away. Let's get to it. But she's going to college. She speaks several languages. And in 1905, she graduates with a degree in literature.
Oh, literature.
Literature. Right after college, she moves back to the family house, which is typical of that time. You basically live with your parents until
you're married.
You live with your husband. End of story.
Yeah.
And Dorothy has a very specific dream. She wants to be a writer. That is what she really, really wants to do. And she starts submitting short stories to magazines in an attempt to be published.
Cool.
She also starts receiving rejections.
I mean, typical.
Like you do. Now, when she's getting these rejections, her family's not super supportive. They kind of tease her. I don't even know if they are aware of the fact that it would come off as mean. I think in their minds, it's just a silly thing that she's doing, because women are supposed to get married and have children. Women don't really do something at that time for purpose or for joy.
Then why did they send her to college? That's what I don't get.
So she's an attractive prospect for somebody who would want to be married. Somebody else who went to Harvard, right? It's almost like you're building up the resume in that day and age just to be married off and married well.
Yeah. I hate it.
Dorothy takes this to heart more than I think her family realizes. These rejections are really tough for her. I mean, rejections are tough in general. So I get it.
Have thick skin.
Yeah. Now, leading up to her disappearance, there are a few moments that, in retrospect, are looked at very closely. So when Dorothy was at Bryn Mawr, she met a man named George Grisham Jr., and he's also from a wealthy family, but he's from a wealthy family in Pennsylvania. He's quite a bit older than Dorothy. So at the time of her disappearance, he's 42 years old, and she's 25. But that's basically the same age difference her parents had. So anyway, he still lives with his parents, and it seems like he's real dependent on them. He vacations with them. His mom buys his clothes.
He's 42.
I get a real mama's vibe.
Wow.
So anyway, Dorothy's parents didn't approve of him, and they forbid her from seeing him. By the way, his name is George, but he prefers to be called Junior. So seems like a red flag.
Oh, okay. Do you think he's John Grisham's ancestor?
No, it's Griscom.
A Griscom. Okay.
So no.
Probably not then.
So even though her parents forbid her from dating Junior, they still correspond through letters. That's the text equivalent.
Oh, love letters.
And in the fall of 1910, Dorothy went with the family to the summer home in Maine, which sounds amazing. I wish I had a summer home in Maine. And then she told her parents that after their vacation was over, that she wanted to go visit an old college friend, Theodora, in DC, and her parents gave their permission. She's 25, but she still requires her parents' permission due to the times.
Yeah.
So her parents give her approval, and she sets out. Now, they don't know this, but Dorothy did not go to DC. Instead, she went to Boston and met up with Junior.
Sneaky.
And they spent the whole week together in separate hotels across the street from each other.
Well, they got to keep it proper.
I guess, but they're still making no attempts to hide. Like, people saw them in Boston, and she used her name to check into the hotel. And how her parents eventually find out is that she took $500 worth of jewelry, pawned it at a shop on Boylston Street, and only got $50 for it to pay for her trip.
Oh, no.
So, I mean, I have a couple questions about Junior. Why aren't you paying? It's 1910. I mean, I understand nowadays maybe you're splitting the bill, but why isn't Junior paying in 1910?
Junior's a freeloader. Let's just say it.
Well, do you think he paid his own way? Do you think she paid for the whole thing?
I don't know.
Come on, Junior.
Junior.
Time to move out. Anyway, so they have this week together. And then in October of 1910, right? So that was in September. The next month, Dorothy goes to Francis, her father, and asks for his permission to move out of the house.
Oh, God.
She wants to be a writer, and she wants to live in Greenwich Village.
Oh.
Did I say that right?
Yeah.
It really bothers me that it's spelled Greenwich. And if I see it, I have a problem. Anyway, he refuses and tells her if she's a good enough writer, she can write anywhere. Which I don't think feels good for Dorothy to hear that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Anyway, in November, Dorothy receives another rejection. So both of her stories that she thinks are her ticket to being published have been rejected. They're called Lotus Leaves and Poinsettia Flames. I just wanted to throw that out there. I think they might be romance stories. And clearly, she's leaning into her perfume background.
Yeah, yeah.
With all the flower talk. Now, it's at this time that her parents were thought to have found out about her secret week in Boston.
Secret lovers.
Because she had pawned the jewelry, came back.
Yeah.
And after they find this out, they hire a private investigator to search all of the marriage licenses for Dorothy's name to see if she secretly eloped.
Oh.
Okay. And I guess they didn't find anything. That Thanksgiving, she goes to visit Theodora. For real.
Okay.
She goes to Theodora. Remember, Theodora was her alibi for that secret week?
Yep.
So she goes to, for Thanksgiving, she goes to Theodora's, which I always thought was weird. Maybe you didn't spend family time at Thanksgiving back in the day because you're always with them?
Yeah, who knows what it was like.
So she arrives on Wednesday. On Thursday morning, she receives a package in the mail. So she had her mail forwarded. Dorothy did. Which is weird that she would get mail on Thanksgiving. But Theodora insists that she did. She received a package. Dorothy became very upset by whatever the package was. Theodora assumed it was a rejection.
Oh, God.
And then Dorothy said she was not feeling well and that she spent the whole Thanksgiving day in bed.
Oh.
The next day, Dorothy is up and about, and Theodora comes downstairs, and Dorothy's dressed, and she has her suitcases packed, and she says, "Bye, see you later." And Theodora says, "Wait, I thought you were staying till Monday." And she said, "No, the plan was always to leave on Friday."
Uh-oh.
So I'm not sure if she went home Friday or if she was using that to get a couple days somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
But it was odd enough behavior that Theodora mentioned it later because Dorothy received something. She doesn't know what it was, and then she was upset.
Okay.
So she's got a couple of rejections under her belt. She's stuck at home. Her dad won't let her move out. She can't date anybody, really. She can't date Junior if that's who she wants to date. And her younger sister, Marjorie, is about to have her debutante ball. Ooh, so exciting.
Oh, boy.
You know, her debut into society, high society is happening. Her sister is quite a bit younger than her. And so at the age of 25, there's a little bit of pressure on Dorothy. And it's assumed that she probably didn't feel great about this. She probably had mixed feelings, you know, happy for her sister and excited for the event.
This is like Bridgerton season 2.
But she's 25 and she's not married.
Right.
And she's not published, which is her personal goal. And, you know, it's thought maybe that was putting a little bit of added strain on Dorothy's mental state. On December 12th, 1910, Dorothy sets out to buy a dress for this big debutante ball. At the time of her disappearance, Dorothy has dark brown hair, almost black, and she wears it in a high updo, which is typical, like the big bun, the poofy buns, you know?
Okay.
Yeah. She's 5'4", about 140 pounds, with a healthy complexion, whatever that means. And on the day she left, she was wearing a suit with a blue coat and a fitted skirt.
Okay.
Very, you know, exact dress I mean, very Anne of Green Gables, if you know, when they're out and about.
Yeah.
She has with her a silver purse, a black velvet hat with blue roses lined with lace, and a fur muff. Okay?
Oh,
just want you to hear that.
Don't bring the muff into this.
Well, she has one. It's cold. It's December. All right?
Oh,
and she's using it appropriately.
Yeah, is she?
That morning, she tells her mother that she's going to Fifth Avenue to buy a dress. She's got about $30 on her, which would be $700-800 today.
Wow.
So it's a lot of money, but it's a debutante ball. I imagine that's probably how much her dress costs.
Crazy.
Now, Mary offers to go with Dorothy, and Dorothy says, no thanks. I'll call you if I see anything I like.
How's she going to call?
I assume with a telephone.
Is that a common thing at places?
I'm sure the shops on Fifth Avenue have telephones.
Yeah, probably.
The Arnolds have a telephone.
Okay.
So people scrutinized this statement, thinking it meant when Dorothy refused her mother going with her, that it meant that she had a plan. Like this was her plan to escape, and she didn't want her mother there, which is possible. Certainly it's possible. But I also heard from another source that Mary was in poor health and often didn't go out. So it was actually unusual for Mary to ask to go with Dorothy. And I thought it's possible that Dorothy didn't want to exert her mother if she didn't need to. It could have been an act of compassion. Like, no, I don't even know what I'm going to get. If I find anything interesting, then go ahead and come out. It could have been that.
Right.
So I could see it both ways. Dorothy leaves the house around 11:30. So there's cars, but not many, right? So she's walking around. She's used to walking around. That's how she gets everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
At noon, she stops off at Park and Tilford store on 5th Avenue and 27th Street, and she buys some chocolates, which she charges to the family account.
Okay.
Which is something I really miss. Wouldn't it be really nice to be like,
have a family account?
Yeah. Charge it to the Arnold account. Thank you. Good day, sir.
Right.
I mean, if you didn't have to pay it, you know, if your dad was the one paying it, that'd be nice.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
So then between 1:30 and 2, she goes to Brentano's bookstore, and she bought a book, Engaged Girls Sketches by Emily Calvin Blake, which is a collection of short stories.
Oh.
It seems like a 1910 rom-com. It was different points of view from women in relationships.
It's fun.
And probably something like what Dorothy was into writing based off the names. Poinsettia flames. Anyway, at the store, Dorothy was described as polite, kind, nothing remarkable. You know, the people at the bookstore were like, yeah, she was nice. I don't know. She's not yelling at them. She doesn't seem scared. She doesn't seem nervous. Girl's just buying a book and eating some chocolates. As she's leaving the store.
Sounds like a dream.
Yeah. As she's leaving the store, she runs into her friend Gladys King.
Okay.
They chit-chat a little bit at the corner. Gladys is on her way to meet somebody for lunch, and Dorothy's just talking to her about the upcoming, you know, big event, Marjorie's debutante ball. Everybody's going to be there. And she tells Gladys that she's going to walk through Central Park and head home.
Oh, God. She never seen again.
And she stops at the corner, which is, at that point, one of the busiest street corners in the world, because it's like happened in New York City.
Yeah.
She turns back, waves goodbye to Gladys, and that's the last time anyone ever saw Dorothy.
Wow.
That night, Dorothy does not come home for dinner. So the family quietly calls around to friends. I mean, she is 25 years old.
Yeah.
She has gone off before for a week with Junior. So they call around to friends. Nobody has seen her. A little time later, one of the friends calls back and says, hey, did you find Dorothy? She okay? And Mary answers the phone and says, oh, yes, she's fine.
Why?
And they say, great, she came home. Oh, yes, she did. And they say, great, can I talk to her? And Mary says, oh, no, she has a headache. She's in bed. Thank you. Goodbye. But that's not true. Dorothy was not home. And that,
Mary killed her.
oh my God, you went from 0 to 60. No, Mary, no, nobody thinks Mary killed her. Good Lord. What people think is that the family is trying really hard to protect their reputation and they didn't
Yep.
want a story to get out. So either Mary knows what happened to Dorothy and there's nothing she can do about it at that point, or more than likely, she thinks Dorothy's off with somebody like Junior and she doesn't want anyone to know. And when Dorothy comes back, she'll get a good what for and they'll carry on with the debutante ball. The next morning, Dorothy's still not home. So the family does not call the police. They call their lawyer, John S. Keith.
Oh, no.
He arrives and he searches Dorothy's room for any idea of where she could be, which tells me that they do truly believe that she took off.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like if they were concerned about her safety, I feel like they would not just call the family lawyer.
Right. Go to the police.
And at first I thought it was insane that they didn't call the police right away. And like I was being real judgy. Get over it. You know, it's your daughter. But when they do actually call the police, I can see why maybe they held off. They might have thought it was in her best interest. Keith searches the room. He finds letters with foreign postmarks, but they don't say what's in those letters. Brochures for transatlantic steamers. Ashes in the fireplace where papers had been burned. They think that those are her rejected manuscripts, but who knows? I don't know. Maybe she wrote down important details.
She's running away to Europe.
That's one of the theories that they think of. Nothing else is missing from her room, though. There's nothing else gone. No jewelry, like nothing of value, no other clothes except what she was wearing. And so the family's a little concerned because if she really was running away to Europe, she'd need a little
pack a case.
Bit more than $30, probably.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Now, during this time, the family also discovers that Dorothy had a secret P.O. box that she kept a secret from them. They assume it was actually to get her rejections.
Yeah.
Because she didn't want them coming to the house. And they think that because...
Right, because they make fun of her.
Yeah. And they think that because Junior, after she went missing, a letter arrived from Junior. Like it had been mailed prior to her disappearance and it arrived at the house. So they don't think it was how she communicated with Junior. I guess it could have been another man. Now, Keith, the lawyer, starts investigating. And because she had candy in a book, their first theory is that she was gearing up for some sort of travel.
Oh.
So he started talking to everyone around in the surrounding train stations if anyone had seen her.
I guess it is a little weird. Like, if you're on the way to buy a dress, like, why would you get those things before?
Well, she left at 11:30. Well, no, she bought the candy at noon. Yeah. Well, I don't think the box of candy necessarily had to be open. Maybe she was getting it for later.
Why wouldn't you get on the way home?
Maybe it wasn't on the way because you're walking everywhere. So you want to hit what is on your way first. Anyway, so nobody has seen her at any of the train stations. And he starts looking in jails, hospital, morgues, New York, Boston, Philadelphia.
Oh my God.
Thinking she got hurt. Something happened to her. He wants to make sure she's okay. A tip comes in that she's at a sanatorium in Pennsylvania. And Keith goes and sees a woman who is not Dorothy, but who he thought maybe was mistaken for Dorothy. And it's at this point that he encourages the family to hire private investigators.
Yeah.
So the family hires the Pinkerton Detective Agency. They, too, cover the same tracks that Keith did. They also search morgues, jails, hospitals, nothing. Because of the transatlantic brochures, they also have people stationed across Europe thinking maybe she went to Europe, just like you thought, to meet somebody or to elope. They also go back to the marriage records department, and now they search everything from January 1st, 1910 to present day. And the clerk there vividly remembers this because he said they get a few hundred licenses a day, and they were only searching for Dorothy's name. The man's name was never mentioned. And that was thousands of records that they had to manually search.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Because you can't just type her name into a computer now, right?
Right.
He literally has to go through everything for the whole year. And he had asked them, can you narrow down the date? And they said, we want the whole year, but we're most interested in the last few months. The thought process at this time from her family is that she had no clothes, no jewelry, no cash besides the $30. She had left behind her personal belongings, even stuff that she probably wouldn't have wanted the family to see. So they're starting to get a little worried that she hasn't just turned up at this point.
Yeah.
Now, it's said that the family quietly reached out to the police around Christmas time, but they did not announce it to the public until January 25th of 1911.
So how much time has passed?
Well, she went missing on December 12th.
Oh, God, that's a long time.
Yeah.
Like, think of if you alerted everybody could be looking out, like, on their walk to Central Park and stuff.
Exactly. So Frances offers a reward of $1,000 for information. Now, the reason Frances held off for so long, I think, was partly because the reputation and they thought she had skipped out for a minute.
Yeah.
But honestly, after he announced this, I can see that maybe he also thought it was in Dorothy's best interest, because as soon as he announces it, they're so wealthy.
Oh.
They are inundated with false leads. Inundated. And it really muddies the waters. You have tips from people all over the country now claiming that they see Dorothy, and they have to look into each one. So it's really draining the man hours. Plus you have...
Are they paying for each one?
Well, they're paying the investigators. I mean, they're not paying the police. I mean, directly.
No, but they say they're $1,000 for information.
Oh, no. That leads to the...
Okay, got it.
Finding Dorothy.
Good.
So they're getting leads from all over the U.S. They're getting ransom notes that all turn out to be hoaxes.
God. So it just makes it worse. People
are coming forward saying they're Dorothy. Like anyone who looks remotely like her. They're like, it's me. I'm Dorothy. You found me. So, but at the same time, it's been so long. Like you said, people's memory is really faded.
Yeah.
If they saw Dorothy that day or not. They get a couple leads that come through. One is a man who works at the steamship department, which is next to the bookstore that Dorothy was at.
Mm-hmm.
He says he remembers a woman asking about ship routes that looked very much like Dorothy. But it's been weeks, and who knows? They considered the same thing, and that's why they had all the investigators were at different ports across Europe looking to see if she'd arrived, and they couldn't find anything. So on January 31st, that mysterious trip to Boston with Junior comes to light through the press. Her family, right, had known about it, but it comes to light in the newspapers.
Oh, boy.
Dorothy's older brother, John, and her mother actually go to Italy where Junior's vacationing with his parents. They had already telegrammed him asking if he knew anything, and he had telegrammed them back, no, but, I mean, you want to hear and see somebody to know if they're lying, right?
Yeah.
So they go to Italy.
Crash vacation.
They ask for the letters back. He says there's nothing in there that would help them. And I'm not sure what transpired between the group, but witnesses say that John punched Junior right in the hotel lobby.
Got him.
I don't know what Junior did, but I'm guessing he ran to his mommy. Anyway, Francis starts to think that Dorothy is dead. He does not believe that she would run off like this without telling anybody. And he urges the police to search Central Park.
Yeah, they should have done that first.
I know. He thinks that her body's in the reservoir. The police say that's not possible because the day Dorothy went missing, the reservoir was frozen solid. Still, they do what they can to search, but, I mean, some considerable weeks have passed. If something had fallen off in a struggle, that's gone.
Get the dogs.
And when spring comes, they drag the reservoir and there's no sign of any bodies.
What about in bushes?
Well, I mean, I'm sure they searched thoroughly. They weren't like, no, we're going to have to wait for it to thaw. Forget that tree over there. I'm sure they searched the grounds. Yes.
Okay, good.
So in February, Junior returns from Europe and he hires his own private investigator. And he starts taking out ads in the newspaper begging Dorothy to come home, which I think is super weird. I guess a way of talking to her. I guess, he doesn't have Facebook. So he's posting an ad in the newspaper. I don't know. And Junior says he would marry Dorothy. There was some back and forth if they were engaged or not. Her family says they never were. He says maybe they were, but it's not his place to talk about it.
What?
So Junior says if Dorothy comes back, he'll marry her as long as he has her family's blessing. And Mary says, well, you don't have our blessing.
Right.
You don't have our blessing. So bye. No, thank you.
Oh my God, drama.
They'll never let Dorothy marry him. I don't know. Also in February, Frances gets a postcard that says, I am safe, Dorothy. And the handwriting is thought to match, but they still believe it to be a hoax because they had published samples of Dorothy's handwriting in the newspaper and they believe somebody copied it.
Why do they believe that?
It had a New York postmark. They don't believe Dorothy would do that to her family. And all it said was, I am safe with her name. It didn't I don't know. There was nothing in there that led them to believe that it was Dorothy. They thought somebody could have copied it. I don't know. That's all it said. There could be more reasons. Also, during this time, a man in San Francisco says a woman who matched Dorothy's description came in with a wedding ring and asked for it to be engraved to AJA from ERB, December 10th, 1910. Yeah, I don't know what any of those initials mean.
Nope.
But it kind of adds to that she eloped theory. So by the end of February, police said they don't have one single clue to prove that there was actually a crime. And they really think that Dorothy has gone away on her own, and she's old enough to do that. Her father still believes that she's dead. He does not believe she would do this to the family.
Take money, right?
Not really, just $30.
Yeah.
Her father and her brother think that she's dead. Her mother thinks she's alive. I mean, I don't necessarily know that you can go by that. I mean, of course, they probably all hope she's alive, but, it's just everybody accepts it different times, their grief and processes what they think.
Yeah.
Now, even though her father believes she's dead, he vows to spend as much money as possible to avenge his daughter's death. The story goes quiet after that for a few years. I mean, random sightings here and there all over the country still happen.
Okay.
They mention Dorothy every time there's another missing woman. But then in 1914, spring actually of 1914, a private maternity hospital called the House of Mystery was raided by police, and a Dr. Meredith was performing illegal surgeries there. Abortions.
Like abortions.
Yeah. Well, that's all it was. Abortions, which are illegal at the time. Now, with the raid, another doctor said that Dr. Meredith had admitted to him that he had performed a procedure on Dorothy and that she had died. And he had cremated her body, like he did with many young women who came to see them. If they did not survive the operation, he would cremate them.
That's sketchy, man.
The house had 2 enormous furnaces in the basement that were connected intentionally so that they could do that like a crematorium.
Fuck? I'm not down.
So the Baltimore Sun is reporting on this, and they say that a prominent woman who was at this mystery house had told her doctor that she had been there at the same time as Dorothy. And you'll remember that Keith, the family lawyer, had gone to Pennsylvania, and it's thought that he went there and that Dr. Meredith produced somebody who is not Dorothy and said, here, this is the woman they thought she was Dorothy.
I don't like this doctor.
In the article, the investigator says he's really not interested in the cold case of Dorothy Arnold. The reason that they raided that house was because a woman named Mrs. Allison had gone missing with $1,000 worth of jewelry, and it had all been found at the house. So that's why it was raided.
Got it.
And during the raid, they discover a secret tunnel with access to the house, as well as lots of high fashion women's clothing, all in different sizes.
What?
Which they believe to be from women who did not survive.
Do you think they just killed women and didn't actually do abortions?
No, I think they did abortions. I think it's just really risky, and a certain kind of doctor, Dr. Meredith seems like he might be, right? He's doing it for the money.
Yeah, exactly. I don't trust him.
Yeah. So a few days after this raid, the DA of Pittsburgh, R.H. Jackson, announces that he's convinced that Dorothy was a patient here, that she survived and was being hidden by her family, which doesn't make any sense. Why would her family hide her?
No, they're spending all this money.
It doesn't make sense. Why would you hide her? I mean, no one's going to know she had an abortion.
Right.
If that's what happened. Anyway, he also confirms during that same press conference that the body of Mrs. Allison, the original woman who sparked this investigation, was discovered. And she had been buried under the name Daisy Davis. But her brother had been able to ID the body. And there was evidence that a, quote, criminal operation, unquote, was present.
Why wasn't she burned?
That's a good question, because they make it sound like they burn all the bodies, but then they had buried this one. So I don't know. Now, the family lawyer, Keith.
I have a bad feeling about all this.
I know. Keith says there's no way that Dorothy's being hidden by the family. There's no way. We've got no evidence. He, at that point, believes Dorothy is dead and something happened to her, some foul play. He says she's not being hidden by this family. Now, around the same time, a convict in jail for extortion, Edward Glenn Norris, has a story to tell. He says on December of 1910, a man who's his friend, named Little Louie, so we're off to a great start, You should never do anything for cash for anybody whose first name is Little or Big, just as a general rule. You stay away with that.
fair.
Anyway, Little Louie hired him to drive a woman around. And he said that he and Little Louie met with 2 other men, one named Doc, and one was a well-dressed gentleman who fit the description of Junior. They then took an unconscious woman to New Jersey. Her name was Dorothy Arnold, and she had on a signet ring that he identified. The next day, they were called back to pick up the woman again. The doc said she didn't make it. She's dead, and paid them $250 to bury a body in a cellar. So this is what he's saying to the warden of the jail. The warden immediately calls the police, and as soon as the police get there, he acts like he doesn't know what happened, and he's confused, and he won't repeat any part of that story.
Oh.
So still, the police go off.
First of all, get Junior.
And they start searching buildings that match the description. They find one, and they go downstairs into the basement, and the cement is actually broken up.
Oh, God.
The owner says it was to fix a gas pipe, and they ask for permission to dig, and he allows it, and they dig, and all they find is a gas pipe.
Oh.
So they think that Edward might have been lying. So what the heck happened to Dorothy? The working theories are...
She's burned up.
She slipped on the ice, hit her head, has amnesia, doesn't know who she is, and went away somewhere.
That's a little extra.
That's the same. This is really similar to Joan Risch in a lot of ways, the same theories. But they searched all the hospitals. That was the first thing they did, That one seems super unlikely. It's really unlikely to start with.
I don't think that at all.
That amnesia that would happen and never recover. That's super rare. And if it did...
No.
They searched all the hospitals immediately. Didn't find her. The second theory is that she was kidnapped. It's very possible she was not kidnapped for ransom, though, because they never received anything. So if she was kidnapped, it was for something else. And the intent was for her not to survive. Another theory that gets floated is that she died by suicide. Now, Junior himself started floating this theory for a while, quoting a letter that Dorothy sent him after she got rejected. Quote, "Failure always stares me in the face, and I can see ahead is a long road with no turning. My mother will always think an accident has happened." I don't know what that means. There's no other context to the letter.
I don't trust Junior, though.
Yeah. And then the last theory is that she was pregnant, and she went to get an abortion. She did not survive the procedure, and somebody disposed of her body.
What about issue 4.5? Like, why was she unconscious with Lil Louie and Junior?
I don't know if you can trust that. He could have made all of that up. Because if she really had...
How would he know of Junior?
Well, all he said was it was a wealthy man fitting the description. Junior was not his name. Junior was not supposed to be in the country at that time. I don't know that it was. It could have been another woman. It could have been something he totally made up based off of all of the news in the press. And also that woman was in New Jersey. Dr. Meredith wasn't in New Jersey. I don't know. It seems like 2 similar theories. So it's possible, right? So her and Junior had their little week away in September.
Right, so she could be feeling it by then.
She would have been 3 months pregnant.
Yep.
If she was pregnant from then, and that would have been a time where a woman would consider that. But I just don't know. Would you really be going around getting books and chocolates? I feel like she would have come up with a better excuse because she would have, if it really was in Pennsylvania, she would have had to travel there. You think she would have at least said she was going to a friend's like she had previously, going to Theodora's for the night or something?
God, I don't know. Or that trick had been played too many times. And she's like, I just got to dip and then reappear.
Maybe. I mean, I guess it's possible, too, that for somebody as wealthy as Dorothy was, that maybe Dr. Meredith traveled if he was the one and was meeting her somewhere. But
oh, maybe. Yeah.
I just still don't, I think she would have expected not to just return home and have nothing happen. Maybe she wouldn't have felt great.
I think, yeah, but I feel like you have a lot of recovery there. I still think we have to consider traveling to Europe.
I don't know that she would have left her family and everything behind, and I guess it's possible. That just seems so callous. I just don't know that she would have done that. I mean, I can understand she's got the societal pressures. She feels boxed in. She feels like she can't live her own life. But is it enough to leave her parents and her siblings in that terrible state for the rest of their lives? I don't know.
She'd also be traveling. No, not quite. Just thinking about the war if you're in Europe.
Oh, Purposely picked this because it was before World War I.
We're getting towards it.
So I'm not sure. I think it's very likely that it was one of those creepy stranger, just bad luck.
Don't walk in parks alone.
But she's it was the middle of the day.
Yeah, that's tough.
That's the other thing people say. They think that Dorothy must have gone somewhere on her own other than what she was saying. Like she didn't go right home. I don't think it was suicide because there'd be a body.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no body.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think she slipped. I don't think it's suicide. It's not kidnapped for ransom, obviously, because there's no ransom. I mean, I guess it's very possible she was incredibly ignorant over how an abortion would affect her.
Maybe. That's a fair point. Like, they're definitely not talking about it.
Yeah, it's not like they have knowledge.
Huh.
And maybe she thought she could scoot right back.
Yeah.
And it's possible that she survived the operation, but then got incredibly sick from an infection and he kept her there.
Ugh.
But it's all hearsay. This is from a doctor who, it's not from Dr. Meredith himself. It was from another doctor who said he heard it.
Did that doctor get arrested?
Yeah. Yeah, him and his nurse. It's really sad. Her parents died without knowing. They spent what would be millions today searching for her. And interesting to note, they wrote her out of their will a few months after she disappeared, which people took as suspicious and thought it was weird. But I actually think it was just to protect his other children because he didn't want somebody coming back 20 years from now saying that they were Dorothy and having his kids have to give money to a stranger. Because there were still sightings all over the U.S. Years later, they kept getting all these sightings in the Midwest, and they went there, and there was a woman who looked just like Dorothy Arnold. Her name was Mrs. Miller. They went to meet with this woman, and she looked, time had passed, but she looked incredibly similar to Dorothy. She had also previously been in New York and left New York City the exact same day that Dorothy went missing.
What?
And she had a mole, just like Dorothy, 3 inches above her knee.
That's her.
I mean, right? Right? Like, it is the case
That's
solved.
her.
Is that her? And the police talked to her forever until she finally convinced him that she was not Dorothy. I mean, it's unbelievable to me because you can't test that. You know what I mean? You can get away with this kind of stuff. If it was her, she could technically get away. She was married and had her own family.
They should have plucked hair samples from everybody, just hoping that one day the technology they'd have.
Because all they had were fingerprints, right? But they'd have to have Dorothy's fingerprints before, and I'm sure they didn't. What reason would you have?
That's her. That's I'm convinced.
She says it's not. She said she's not. She just looks very similar to her.
The same mole, the same day.
I know.
Maybe that's the amnesia connection.
I think she has memory of being another person, though.
Maybe that brain can do that.
I don't know. I mean, you're kind of rooting for something like that. Like, she got out and she's living her life however she wants to, and she is fine. It seems unlikely that someone would do that to their family. I guess people do it all the time.
No, I'm saying if she
didn't mean to do it.
Where was Mrs. Miller?
This woman, her name was Anna Miller, and she's in Kansas City. So you think that this woman was Dorothy and she had amnesia and just woke up thinking she was another person and just was like, I better get back to Kansas City.
I don't know.
That's where I live now. That's what my brain says.
I just think that's weird. That's a weird kind of coincidence.
And she said she was sick of getting mistaken for her. It happened all the time.
She is her.
I don't know. I mean, another woman in LA said she was her and that her father was sending her payments secretly on the side. That was not true.
Did she have a mole?
I don't know. Nobody said anything about that knee mole.
It all comes down to that.
I know. Gosh. I mean, it's I don't know. Was Junior involved? I'm willing to bet he wasn't. I don't even think Dorothy really loved that guy. I think she was dating him to date somebody. I don't feel like this was
a little sense of freedom.
Yeah, I don't feel like she was too bent out of shape about Junior not being in her life. I don't think she really cared. Because her friends never heard her talk about anybody.
Yeah.
You know, if she's writing romance stories, she has a very clear image in her head of what love looks like. I don't think she was getting that from Junior. But
yeah,
these are assumptions. I mean, maybe his mom bought him a really nice tie. One day, I don't know. So I don't know. Either way, it's so sad for the parents.
No, it really is.
I mean, I can see why it's so sad that they thought she did something unforgivable, like ran off with a man or getting an abortion, that they felt like they couldn't get the police involved soon. It's so sad when your risk of your reputation is the most important thing. But I really think on the flip side, they were worried that, well, exactly what happened would happen, and it would make it really hard to investigate because they just started getting people from all over. But we'll never know, because if they had said it that day, maybe somebody would have seen something.
Exactly.
That information is lost forever.
Even looking right away, like not even saying anything right away, but telling the police to look right away.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't know what was missed. Like if in a struggle she lost an earring or something, somebody picked that. Yeah. Dropped her book, her chocolates. Like that's all gone. Somebody picked that up immediately.
Yeah. I want to read those stories.
You can't expect to find a box of chocolates 6 weeks later. My
fantasy here is that she ran away and became a best-selling author under a pen name.
I know, mine too.
Who's the person who wrote all those mysteries?
You think she's Agatha Christie?
No, but she'd be too old to be Agatha Christie. But that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Like
she's like a best-selling romance novelist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does a woman who with this kind of upbringing also have the desire to just leave everything and make it on your own? Like, was she independent enough? I don't know.
Maybe. She did go to college. I mean, the thing is, like, we never really got a feel for, like, her being, like, super sentimental or sweet or attached. Like, so we don't know.
I know. We don't know. We'll never know. Her friends probably have the best take on that.
Theodora.
Like, I think you have what it takes to disappear if you needed to. I think you could do it.
Wow.
If you needed to. I don't think everyone has that ability. And it's one of those things, you have to have a certain kind of like, certain kind of energy to be able to pull that off. I feel like if you were being oppressed and ignored and forced to marry a man like Junior, or I guess you couldn't marry Junior, then you might jet.
Hit him in the soft parts.
Well, of course. Soft part. You just give him some of that mushroom tea. So anyway, that is the unsolved disappearance of Dorothy Arnold. Obviously,
wow,
she would not be alive today, even if she had a run for it. But
be very impressive.
It's really sad. The family had to live with that.
Yeah, that sucks.
Do you have any last word for us?
Reputation should come second. Put your loved ones first.
Safety first. We can't possibly know what it's like to have made that decision, though, in 1910, because they're also probably thinking of Dorothy. No man will marry her if this gets out, right? She will be ruined and she'll have to be a spinster forever. Oh, gasp.
Yeah, I can just hear it.
Which is sad, but it's also like, you're right.
Yeah, it's the reality.
But is that the worst thing in the world? No. Anyway. All right. Well,
never seeing your daughter again is the worst.
That's the worst. And Francis said the worst thing was that he didn't know what happened to her, which is always what people say. He said it would be one thing if she was, I'm paraphrasing, but one thing if she was buried next to her grandmother and I knew where she was, and it's another thing entirely not to know. And it's devastating.
There's no peace.
Yeah.
There's no closure. That's tough, man.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I know. Well, I don't know. Maybe someday it'll be solved. If her body's discovered, I think that would have a chance. Well, you can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram at
Tea Time Crimes. And YouTube.
You can email us at
teatimecrimes@gmail.com.
And rate, review, subscribe. Please take a moment to give us a rating. So it
helps so much. Tell your
who are they telling?
Name Theodora.
Cool name.
Don't tell juniors.
Sorry, juniors.
Sorry, juniors, you're out of this picture. Tell your police, your booksellers, your chocolate sellers, your dress sellers. And let's just throw your littlest kitty in this one.
Yeah. And anybody named Perfume Heiress, tell them.
Yes.
All right.
What the fuck?
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Goodbye.
Gosh, creeper.
You're the creep.